Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad Winter and I'm your host today for Living in Columbus. And I've got a special guest, Brian Sweeney with Scoop Mortgage. What's going on, man?
Not too much, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Today, we're going to talk about something we have not talked about on this channel before, and that is the Airbnb market here specifically in Columbus, but we're also going to touch base what it is nationally, as I know a lot of you are potential investors are thinking about getting the Airbnb game. So we're going to jump right into it and talk about the Airbnb world. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Go ahead and tap on that subscribe button, click the bell, give us a comment, shoot us a like. We would really appreciate that because that helps YouTube does its algorithm thing.
It always helps.
Right? If you are thinking about making a move to Columbus, make sure you hit up me for all your real estate needs and Brian for all of your financing mortgage needs. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to talk about the Airbnb market. So let's go get it. The first thing we want to talk about here on this particular episode of Living in Columbus is the increase of potential listings in the Airbnb market. Brian, you've been in this industry for a long time. You have Airbnbs yourself. You work with clients that are purchasing. What are you kind of seeing with increase, decrease of listings here locally, but then also on a national level?
I mean, as you know, the Airbnb market over the past, 2, 3, 4, 5 years has just been exploded. I mean, if you go back and look when Airbnb went public as a company, their stock kind of went up and so did their listings, right? Globally, obviously, they have millions and millions of listings, but let's bring it back to local. Here in Columbus, we have 1,000 listings that are available just in the month of November here coming up, and that's for rent availability. Now, what does that mean? That number is kind of arbitrary without having some sort of context to it. What that means is that of the total number available of Airbnbs in Columbus, 1,000 are available for rent. So that's a percentage of the overall, I think 7,000 or so Airbnbs in Columbus. But let's circle this back around. Why is this happening? Why are there more listings available? Why is demand down? Yeah, well, is it travel? Is it interest rates? Is it football season? I feel like it's a lot, right? It is. It could be a number of things.
I know for myself, personally, Paige and I, my wife, we've used Airbnb. We've had great experiences. We've had bad experiences. I feel like with anything, when there's more of something, the quality can kind of become diminished.
Exactly.
So I think that's something that's going on right now. But I think if we just look at the state of the industry, you've got, like you said, high rates, the economy's in flux. We've got possible wars on multiple fronts.
Yep.
It seems like there's just a lot of bad energy out there. Do you think that's affecting the market?
No question. And also take into consideration that personal spending and credit card debt is at all-time highs, right? So if maybe 2 years ago, coming out of COVID, you were like, hey, let's jump in a car, let's drive to New York City, get that free money, right? Stimulus checks are coming in. Or maybe you're saying, hey, let's go to Palm Springs, let's do something, let's go to an Ohio State Buckeye game. Maybe you live in Indianapolis or maybe you live in Kentucky, something like that. That's just not happening as frequently as it was prior, right? And so
that makes a lot of sense.
Demand fall. But why is that important? How does that affect the overall real estate market as a whole?
Well, I think there's a couple of things we can look at is, if there's these increase of bookings or bookings available, right, then somebody's not making money.
That's exactly right.
Right. And my guess is it's the owners, right? They're not making, and the management companies, right? And all the other ancillary companies that deal with that. So if we have these increase in listings, how long can that, I guess, go on for until the owner or the investor company is thinking about this doesn't make sense financially anymore?
I think that's $1 million question is how long can that last? Is it a month? Is it 2 months? Is it 5 months? Is it 10 months? Is it 10 years? I guess it pulls back to why did you buy that property in the first place? Did you buy it because you wanted it as a second home and maybe you were just going to rent it out partly? Or did you buy it because it was truly an investment property? If it was the first one as just maybe a second home, then maybe you're not as concerned with the less bookings.
Right.
I mean, for sure. Maybe you can afford to buy it. You're going to continue on. But if it's the latter one where it's truly an investment property, your ROI is the most important part. So this where you as a real estate professional in here, especially in Columbus, Ohio, where are buyers able to get deals on Airbnb properties that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get in a normal market. They're not even maybe listed on the market.
Right, for sure.
But they could be coming up.
For sure. Well, I think this is going to touch back on point number one with the increase of listings. We just had somebody on our team whose client is relocating from California. They don't need to be here until the spring, but they wanted a very specific area in Columbus, and it was an Airbnb property that hit the market and nobody wanted to touch it. It was probably priced a little too high. They wanted to keep all the furniture there. They were trying to offload this property. Turnkey, just like the investors were like, had enough.
Exactly.
It was done. And we were able to secure a really nice deal. We got seller credits, we got reduced price, all these things.
It creates an opportunity.
Right. So I think with these increase of listings that we're seeing, there are going to be more opportunity out there. I'm a part of some Facebook real estate groups. I think you are too, is I see people putting up their whole portfolio portfolio right now, right? Like, hey, I got to get rid of all these. I've even seen some people that maybe were in condominium buildings that probably shouldn't have been in there, right? Maybe the bylaws didn't allow that, but somehow they were doing a little backdoor action.
You're seeing a lot of that.
So you're seeing this stuff. People are getting tighter. The rules are getting tighter. You know, maybe the boards of the HOAs are restricting that. And now all of a sudden, these investment properties that don't make sense to do it for long-term rental, they've got to hit the market. They've got to unload. They can't afford it. So I think that's hit back on number one, increase of listings. I think all the things we just said is why we're going to are seeing more increase in listings.
Yeah, I think eventually, maybe it happens in 6 months or 12 months or 2 years from now, that Airbnb listings will come back around. The demand will always has an economic cycle to it. It's cyclical, as they say. So that will happen, but there might be a pocket of opportunity right now. Sure, interest rates has gone up, right? If you're able to get a property 10, 15, 20% below market and your interest rate's a little bit higher, you still end up making better than you would a year from now when interest rates come down. For sure. And all of a sudden you're competing and you have bidding wars. So I think there's a huge opportunity with the Airbnb listings, not just in Columbus, but nationwide, as we see that kind of trickle effect, usually from the West Coast and then over to the East Coast. So time will tell.
Absolutely. The second thing that we wanted to talk about is kind of the mortgage industry and what you're seeing, you know, as far as maybe is things changing on how the mortgage industry is evaluating or looking at properties they know are Airbnbs that people are buying. Do you actually know that? Do most, loan officers know if somebody's truly buying an investment property like an Airbnb? So, or is there like this weird line of like, it is Airbnb, but we're going to use it as our primary, right? Like how do you guys look at that? And like, what are you seeing for the purchase side as well right now?
Obviously, you never want to fraud your mortgage company, right?
Correct.
Lending fraud is a big no-no in any capacity, whether it's personal lending, mortgage lending, commercial lending, whatever it may be. But that being said, if you're buying a property in Florida, and you and your wife say, hey, this is going to be our second home, and you have no intentions of renting it out, then you decide a year later, hey, I'm going to this on Airbnb. The mortgage company can't really come back on you and say, hey, you said you were never going to rent this out. There's a gray area there. But if you're buying a second home, then you're going to have it rate like a second home. If you're buying a short-term rental, then you're going to get a loan as if you're buying an investment property. Okay, so there are specific loans for short-term rental properties.
Do mortgage companies look at Airbnbs as a different type of investment? Like a typical, let's say you're going to buy a single family investment. What is it? Typically 20, 25%. Oh, if you're doing a conventional, right? Not a DSCR or anything like that. But do you look at it differently? Do you look at the bookings? Like can you evaluate it like a commercial property almost at all?
You can. They do look at the ROI and the capitalization rate. But remember, a lot of properties that people are buying aren't Airbnbs to start.
That's true.
So they may be Airbnbs down the road or in the near future. So they have to take that property and say, what does this property anticipate bringing in revenue? Okay. There's websites you can go to like AirDNA and those places, right, to figure out what is the market research for that property. But yeah, of course, it's going to be a lot more risky than getting a conventional or an FHA loan. You're going to have to put down 20 or 25%, and it's going to be a lot more, I don't want to say difficult, but it's going to be a lot more paperwork to get that particular loan done as opposed to conventional.
Now, as far as you guys at Scoop Mortgage, are you seeing, let's just say the last, we'll call it 18 months, are you seeing an influx of people buying Airbnb type investment properties? Has it maintained? Do you know if you're doing, hey, we're probably doing 5 a month, or have you seen a drop off? Like, what are you seeing in our, I guess our local market, so specifically on buying Airbnbs?
I would say in Columbus specifically, just in the last 6 months, we've not done a ton, maybe a dozen. Okay. Which for Columbus, Central Ohio, I feel like it's pretty much a few, relatively speaking. But remember, a lot of people are buying these properties that may already be Airbnbs, and then they're taking equity from other properties and they're updating them. Because that's the biggest thing right now with Airbnb. As the bookings go down, it's why are they going down? Right. There's people out there renting for Airbnbs. There's people out there going to hotels, right? But are you going to go to the hotel that's run down or the Airbnb that's run down, one that's fixed up, right? Like this property here that we're in today. I mean, I would happily stay here. Right?
Sign 500 that easily. No big deal.
Exactly. So I think that's a big factor as well is updating the property, making it something that someone wants to rent out and someone would, be happy living there for a couple of days.
For all the people out there watching right now, we'll tie it back into the mortgage industry. If they are thinking about buying an Airbnb, do you have any advice for them? I know you're a personal investor, so we'll get to that in a second, but do you have any advice for them on the mortgage financial side of maybe how to prepare? What do they need? What should they look for to make, the most optimal decision on an investment?
I mean, if you're an investor, especially obviously in real estate, you have to keep your PFS in line, your personal financial statement. You always have to have that updated. You have to have your financials, your tax returns. If you're self-employed, have all those things in order, because that's going to help you get through the line quicker. You know, mortgage is not a marathon, it's a race. So you want to get there as quickly as possible. But if you have those things in order, you're going to get there much quicker. And I would say as an investor, right, analyze the deal yourself. Don't rely on the bank to tell you or the appraisal to tell you how much the property is worth. You should know these things going in if you're doing your due diligence appropriately.
Yeah, I feel like there's plenty of resources out there with AirDNA, management companies that do a great job. I mean, there's a couple here locally that do a great job of like, they can get you a pro forma, right? You can do the work yourself. So I think that's great advice is don't rely on others. You know, if you have other people that are in your circle that, you know, whether it's a real estate advisor, whether it's a loan officer or another investor that's maybe your mentor, if they do a great job of providing you that, definitely take advantage, but you should always double check. Do your own.
Use a real estate agent to buy the property and do the due diligence on that side. But for your own financial situation, no one knows your finances better than you.
Right, for sure.
No mortgage person, no financial advisor, no accountant. Nobody knows your financial situation better than you do because you look at your accounts probably on a daily basis. So use the real estate advisors for the real estate and use your financial situation for your own due diligence.
Good advice. All right, on topic number 3, you know, Brian is actually, you own a mortgage company, financial advisor,
you do accounting,
tax.
You know, a couple of
your wife's got a salon, you got tanning stuff now. You're title company, long-term investor, but you're also in the Airbnb world.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the good thing is about having a guy like Brian is he's well diverse in everything. You know, when it comes to investing, you got your hands in everything. You know, Paige and I, we have long-term rentals. We have not dabbled in the Airbnb world. I know that's something that we are thinking about down the road as we want to, you know, venture down to Florida, be with family a little bit more during the holidays. And so for everybody out there, give a little background on, you know, how many properties you have. What did you look for? How did you come across the property that like, what has been your success and how are you maintaining maybe through this weird time that we have with rates and the economy and everything?
So I guess it started a couple of years ago whenever the short-term rentals really kind of came into existence for us. We have about 70 long-term rental properties, which, I mean, everyone kind of knows how that works. Right. Get a tenant, they pay the rent, it's long-term. But the short-term rental market became attractive to us, just like it became attractive to a lot of other people. And that's why we have so many listings. Yeah. Because in the same word that you just said, we wanted something that we could go to, spend time there.
Okay.
We have 4 short-term rental properties in different parts of the country, New York, Arizona. And so these places we use as short-term rentals, but we also like to go there and visit. So our kind of thought process was, as an investor, we better be able to afford this without having any rental income. If we can do that, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think as you get into being an Airbnb investor, though, that money starts coming and you kind of get addicted to it. And you're like, well, why isn't it renting? Like, what's going on?
Bash cash a little bit, right?
Yeah. And you start seeing these payments, you know, $1,300, $2,500, $3,000, $4,000 coming in every couple of weeks. And then when they stop, you're like, what the heck's going on here? Right. Why am I not getting any more? So originally it's like, oh, I don't care if I rent it that much. But then as the rents come in, you're like, okay, I'll rent it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so I think right now is a great time to kind of manage your risk. Take a look at your property if you're either buying one or maybe you already own one and say, is my property good? Like, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Would I stay at my own property? And if you are, then maybe you have a good property.
Yeah.
If you're saying to yourself, I probably wouldn't want to stay there, then you may want to do some updates.
What have you guys done as far as, let's take the place in Arizona. We won't say where, but you know, out in Arizona. What have you done specifically from the beginning that you thought, hey, this will attract clients? And then as time has gone on, what are some maybe upgrades or little things that you've changed to improve the overall experience? Because I think we're in an experience-driven world, right? Like, if people don't have a good experience with you, with me, with a contractor, whatever it is, we're not getting a call back, right? So what was the good that you've done, and then how have you improved it?
So the property that we bought was, we had offered on it, and then my wife was talking to the agent out there, and he basically said, hey, look, he's like, you didn't get it. And now we get a call back, not 2 weeks later, and they say, hey, you were second in line on it still. And it's like, kind of like, well, hold on a second, what happened? Right. And so we ended up accepting the property. We went in and basically gutted the whole thing. So we got kitchen, bathrooms, you know, living room. We added a 500 square foot addition as a living room. Completely redid the pool, put a painting, you know, basically looked at the top Airbnbs in that area and just said, like, what are they doing? Let's copy what they did. But that copying only goes so far.
Yep.
And so my wife's really good at this, but she added, like, you know, people were always complaining about having to take the trash out.
Okay.
Right. I mean, it's just right there. But if you know, people don't want to, you don't have to do that at a hotel. So why would you have to do it at Airbnb?
Right.
So adding like a concierge, like someone that handles the trash, someone that's on call maintenance, right? You're going to have maintenance issues. Maybe we had personally, the hot water wasn't working for some reason. The AC, you know, it's 155 degrees out. Right. The AC doesn't work sometimes. So having an on-call maintenance person that's there, that can get there within 20 minutes or 45 minutes to fix something, like that's a huge benefit then. And then, adding little things like someone that can be a personal shopper, so you can partner with some companies that if you want to, you don't have to pay the extra Instacart fees. You could have companies that will come and drop the groceries off and do things like that.
So like totally like concierge service from the moment they open the door until they leave. Technically at your specific place, they don't have to do anything. They can just, they show up, hang out, have people over, go golf, go hike, come back, and then like it's all just taken care of.
Yep, all done.
Okay, so let me ask you this. We see all these listings. How's your property been the last, let's call it 6 months?
So I would say, May, June, July, August, home runs. I mean, full transparency, I think in the month of June, July, and August, we made $6,000 per month each month. So $18,000 is every month.
And that's great months.
September, October, negative, probably $5,000 each month.
Okay.
Just because the bookings have been down dramatically.
Right.
And so bookings have caught up a little bit only because we had to drop the prices significantly to compete with the overall listing rate in the market in a less frequent travel demand right now.
Okay. So as that has happened, are you adjusting? Are you marketing? Are you said price drops obviously, but are you just riding it out? Is it a seasonal? Because
we're long-term investors, right? Even though it's not a quote unquote long-term rental property, it's a short-term rental, but it's a long-term investment.
Yeah, I got you.
And so right now we're looking at ways to maybe get into the mid-term rental market. So, I know everyone's like, well, you got to talk to nurses and get into nursing, traveling, rental market, but the mid-term rental market's huge. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so maybe on a property like Arizona, you may bring in on a good month $10,000. Okay.
Yep.
But on the midterm rental market, maybe it's a $5,000 a month. So you're making a lot less, but you're at least covering your expenses and maybe making $1,000.
Right.
And so that I think is good to weather the storm.
Yeah.
At least for the maybe next 6 months to a year as demand kind of decreases if we go into a recession.
Right.
No one really knows what's going to happen. So.
Well, also being in Arizona, a lot of seasonality happens, I'm sure.
No question.
Right? So you were heading now into snowbird season, golf season for people that live, where we live. So would you, if you were a betting man, would you say after Christmas, the ramp up will probably happen? Maybe that early fall to Christmas is your short or your midterm rental next year.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to try to like segue it that way? Or
so, I mean, you're a baseball guy. I mean, we're spring training.
Right. Arizona.
Right. I mean, so I think that then you have waste management open in some of these places out of Scottsdale in that time frame in February. And so I think that February, March, April time frame is really like the boom.
Okay.
And then you have the bust going into the summer. I mean, who's going to Arizona in the middle of July?
We were just out there. It was 115. I was dying.
Right.
It was brutal.
Exactly. I mean, you literally can't go outside.
Right.
And so I think that midterm rental market is that September, October, November, January time frame.
Okay.
So I would say, just like for Columbus, right, bringing it back to the local market here, the boom is going to be September, October, November, December, probably for Ohio State.
Right.
And then, you're going to have probably some slow times in January, February, March, and you probably pick back up for sure in the late spring.
Cool. All right, wrapping up, we're going to talk about the overall impact of the short-term rental market within the real estate market. Personally here in Columbus, I think we're definitely seeing more of these type of units hit the market. What's interesting though is the pricing is so skewed.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it doesn't even make any sense right now. So I think we are going to start to see this from people that, they bought when the rates were low, thinking they were an investor. They never treated it like an investment, right? I mean, that happens all the time. No question. With every investment, this happens. You get people that they're on TikTok and they're like,
focused.
Right. They weren't focused. They're on TikTok, on Instagram. Everybody's doing it. I got to buy it. Right. They have a phone.
They have a phone.
Right. So I think we're going to start seeing a lot of those type of properties hit. I think the people that treat it like you do, they're going to weather the storm. They're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
But we don't know how bad the storm is.
That's true. That's not yet. Not yet. Let's just say the storm is what we kind of think it's going to be. Hopefully. Then I think, people like that will be okay. They'll figure it out. They'll pivot because I think any good investor pivots if they
no question.
Right. So I think from an inventory standpoint here in Columbus, it could be just a good thing. I don't think it's going to be like this thing that everybody thinks where it's going to have this massive impact on the market.
No, not in Columbus.
Not in Columbus. I don't think all of a sudden we're going to see 2,000 brand new houses hit the market all at once.
No,
that's just not.
I mean, Columbus is a great city, and a lot of people in other cities think it's just a flyover city. That's because they've never been here.
Yeah.
But Columbus has a lot to offer, and the affordability is great for sure because the cost of living obviously isn't as high as a lot of other places. So I think there wasn't 2, 3, 4 years ago people coming and saying I got to buy in Columbus, Ohio. It was the Scottsdales, it was the Palm Springs, it was the Austin, Texas, it was the Fort Lauderdale. muttered was right. It was these markets that are always boom and bust, right? They go up again. So yeah, to your point, I think if you own in Columbus, if you're thinking about owning in Columbus, you have a long-term approach, I think you're going to be okay.
I guess, while we're on this, what do you think as far as regulations that could come down? We're seeing New York going through a bunch of stuff, right? Florida might be introducing some things. I know here locally, I believe, is it Grandview and Upper Arlington, you can't have Airbnbs? Upper Arlington, I know you can't for sure.
Yeah, I think UA or Upper Arlington, I think they're pretty strict.
What do you, being an investor, you're probably always trying to educate yourself, read up, stay ahead of the curve. Do you think any sort of this regulation is going to affect the Columbus market? Or do you think we're still kind of like, hey, we are what we are here in Columbus, and our people aren't as impacted as maybe in New York City?
Yeah, right? Ohio's for lovers. And so I think that Columbus is the heart of Ohio in the lover communities, in the sense of they try to be more lenient with a lot of these types of things. I mean, Columbus is very business friendly, and so they're not going to take, they get paid on, they get hospitality taxes, they get revenue that's generated from these things. And Columbus historically has always been a business friendly city, even in the outskirts of metro area. But going through the process in Columbus, I have an Airbnb here in Columbus, and I would say it's pretty easy. I mean, I don't know about Upper Arlington specifically, but I would say the regulations here are a lot more lenient than some of these much larger markets that kind of have to crack down on things.
Right. Do you think regulation is good for this particular investment sector, or do you think less regulation? Because nobody wants the government getting in their business, right? Or telling them what they can and can't do. But is there certain parts of the country that, hey, we're probably going to need this because it's taking away from people renting, taking away from people buying that maybe want to buy, they just can't because there's no inventory.
Right. I mean, so that comes back to a lot of different things. Yeah. It really depends on, are you on the investor side, or are you on the person trying to buy a property in that area that has all the investors buying Airbnbs, right? So I think if you're on the side of the buyer side, that you're trying to buy in the market that has a lot of Airbnbs, I think you have brighter days ahead, because there's going to be houses that come to the market that you probably are going to be able to get better deals on than you would have a couple of years ago.
Right. That makes sense.
But I think regulation in its full capacity, the government does things and local governments do things for a reason.
Yeah.
Is it fair that, in my opinion, is it fair that you can have a hotel right here, but you can't have a short-term rental right here? No. And that's the hotel industry, putting their big foot in the door. But there's also a lot of tax benefits to owning short-term rentals. In regulation, they haven't taken away from that. So if you own a short-term rental, there's huge tax benefits to owning a short-term rental as opposed to a long-term rental. And, regulation has been very favorable towards that.
Got it.
And so you kind of have to find the markets like Columbus that have that kind of lower leniency when it comes to owning a short.
Cool. Well, we're going to wrap up this episode of Living in Columbus, Ohio. We touched on the Airbnb industry here, locally, nationally, Brian being an investor. Everything that you could think about, we kind of covered with Airbnb.
Yep.
Thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Brad Winter. If you need anything real estate related, whether it's buying, selling, investing, if you live here, or if you're moving here or relocating here already, make sure you give me a call. If you need anything as far as mortgage, financing, investor stuff,
We'll help you out either way.
Brian at Scoop Mortgage has you. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.